Hey typography students, I wanted to give you a quick video kind of explaining what is left in this class. We have 2 more weeks this week that I'm opening on the 6th of April, and then technically the 13th is our last class, so that's when final things are due. No additional work assigned then. And if for any reason, circumstances have changed for you, you are working 60 hours a week, 40 hours a week, 20 hours a week, taking care of kids, parents, family, or something's changed, and you need any accommodations or extensions, please let me know directly one-on-one and do it proactively, not 3 weeks after the course is done. So if you need anything, reach out to me. So what I'm going to show you is the week of April 6th. You can see it's grayed out. This is going to turn on April 6th at 4 a.m. if anybody wants to get up then. But I want to go through what we're doing this week, the week of April 6th. So actually, as you're viewing this, it's open. So we're going to be dealing with typographic logos that are just type-based only. They're not relying on icons or illustrations or graphics, just type. And remember, in Illustrator, you guys can turn a type into, or a font, I'm sorry, into an outline, and then you can go in and with your direct selection tool, you can manipulate different anchor points. So if the R doesn't have a long swash that underlines the letter next to it, you can actually make that if you want to. So I'm going to have you watch a video on typographic logos, and I also want you to keep in mind all of the typography rules that you know, so not just these few in the golden rule. This video, I have so many different things open here, is this one. Looks like this, the golden rules of typography. It's short, it's only 6 minutes, but it talks about how you can determine if fonts have commercial licensing available to you, if they're free to use on the web and in print. So when you're making a logo for someone, you either have to officially buy the font that you're going to use for their logo legally, so you have the license, or you need to get one from a source that gives you commercial free licensing. So this video talks about that as well. It talks about using type that tells the story. This does have an icon in here and they flat out say ignore this, let's just deal with the type. And it shows you a little bit about designing on a grid. So it's really helpful. A short tutorial that I would like you to watch. Then I want you to look at this article on font trends for 2020, and it's just kind of interesting to see what they think is coming around. So here they are, humanizing the serifs, round sans serifs, etc. I'm not going to read it all to you, but I'd like you to go through this and look and get some inspiration. Maybe there's something in here that you hadn't thought about that you really like and you want to incorporate into your designs. I'm always a fan of rustic vintage fonts, so that one's I'm a sucker for that. Minimalism, a lot of people like. Classical, of course. Pixel art fonts can be kind of exciting. Again, they're relying on some graphics here, but like don't turn me on, just the type here is pretty, that could stand alone if it had to. 70s and 80s fonts and kinetic fonts that move, which of course we can't really do in a still typography class. So I want you to read this article and watch that video. And then when you come back here, based on what you've learned, I want you to complete Project 7, which is a typographic logo. And I have the instructions in the rubric linked here. I'll show those to you next. This is due in Blackboard by midnight, April 13th. I want you to note that that's a Monday, not your typical Sunday night deadline. This would formally be our last day in class, April 13th, if we were still meeting. So I'm giving you until midnight of April 13th. So I'll jump to that in just a second, but before I want to tell you to continue working on your letter forms in your own font project. Today I had do your progress so far working on digitizing, so maybe you had a couple of letters drawn up and chopped up so that you can use those pieces to assemble the other letters, capital letters in the alphabet. And I just wanted to see your progress. You don't have to have any amount done, you just have to have something started and something going. So depending on how far you are in, this might really help, but I found this great video, how to improve your letter forms, and that looks like this. And in this case, it's only an 11-minute video, but at this point he's talking about comparing it to an established font and seeing how the weight of the width of the stem of the T, whatever shape that is, that should be the weight over here on the D also. And by taking an existing font, outlining it, and then measuring out with a shape tool, measuring out a rectangle, and then moving that rectangle around, you can see that it's balanced. And then he's working on a critique of the font above that somebody sent in. And I don't want it to record because it might get cut out. Here's her original. So you can see she has a lot of swirls in it, and actually the thickness of the T does not match the thickness of the D. So he goes through a whole tutorial about how to really clean up your font choices. And at some point in here, not that one, he even has them broken down into the outline view, so you can see that this is a shape, but what's attached to it is the serif right here. The V is several pieces. It's not one continuous form, so this might help you with your font project. Keep working on that. So your rough draft is due today. Our drop-in for this class is on Wednesdays at 11 o'clock, so I will be in that Blackboard virtual room again Wednesday at 11. If you want to drop in and have any questions, or if you just want to share what you're working on so far and get some feedback, the more people that show up for that half hour, the more feedback we can get. If you just have a question and want to pop in and out because that's all you have time for, that's fine also. But if you'd like some human interaction, Wednesday at 11, and it'll be the Blackboard link to the Blackboard Collaborate room that I've posted in the announcements, and it should be at the top of the Learning Plans page as well. So your final project is also due by midnight on Monday the 13th next week. And then if you have time, normally I would show this in class, and it's so good. It's about the design process behind John Mayer's latest album. I'm not sure if it's still his latest or his second latest, but at any rate, it's about how he wanted a certain look and searched high and low to find a designer that really matched his style. And what this designer does is insane and so inspiring, and he also does etched glass and he paints on glass panels. I promise, if you have time to watch it, maybe cast it to your TV or have the family gather around. It's really good. So the video link is here if you have time. So your assessment for this project up here, your typographic logo, I'm going to jump to the rubric and make this bigger. There we go. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a logo type of your name and a tagline. So in my case, I gave the example down here. I did Brenda Bloom and then the tagline graphic designer or graphic design. It could be Brenda Bloom Design Studio, and the tagline could be we're the best in the world. I don't know, those are horrible examples, but I think you get the idea. So it's a main line and your tagline or secondary info and title line. And that font has to complement and work with the one that you chose as your main font for your name. So you're going to manipulate type using tons of the things that you've learned to make it work. So overlap, kerning, repetition, fitting, tracking, leading, type on a path, type on a shape, alignment, whatever. You're going to reflect your name in a creative way, and this should definitely be portfolio quality work, something you're proud of. So based on the article that you read, those trends, I want you to create 3 very different logo options. So for example, one could be in 70s type, one is classical, one is rustic. I don't want you to choose the classical look and give me 3 different classical logos that all look pretty much the same. Really challenge yourself to go outside of your comfort zone and find some cool things. This may not be a logo you ever use, but just for the sake of pushing your boundaries and learning, I want you to try 3 very different options. So again, that tagline or secondary line is in a font choice that works with the primary font. So often if it's very stylish, you go with something simple and clean for the tagline. If it's serif, you go with sans serif. If it's bold, you go with thin, something like that. So this logo is all about type. No other elements can be used. I don't want icons, graphics, illustrations. Also, make sure that the font you are using is truly available for commercial use. So you're going to be checking the font licensing and talking about that in your artist statement. In the video that you're going to watch about making logos, you're going to see the example from Font Squirrel and DeFont that will show if the font is available for commercial use. So you're going to look for that. You can't just steal fonts, you have to buy them, or they have to be commercially free. So this is a 40-point assignment. And remember an artist statement where you talk also about the font licensing. Back in Blackboard, not that. Back in, oh, I have so many things open, gosh. LP10, let's go there. Here is just a screenshot of something that I did very quickly. It's, well, I don't know if ugly is the right word, but it's nothing I'm proud of. It was nothing I would turn in, but I wanted to show you what I'm looking for. 3 very distinct differences. So this is a very retro vintage type. This is more of a clean sans serif script handwritten font, and then something very geometric. So what I want you to do is upload your packaged Illustrator file. It must include all the fonts you used and a PDF version that I can quickly view in case things go awry. So in Illustrator, I have up the file that I was just playing with. And I want you to note when I put my cursor between the U and the M and I expand the character panel, I've done, I didn't need to do it there, but I have done some kerning between these letter forms. Down here with the words graphic design, I've done tracking at 38, and I shrunk the vertical scale down to 44%. If this were at 100%, come on, there we go. That's how tall that type would actually look. So I shrunk this down to 44%. I feel like my keyboard is not working. It's a little scary. This is type on a path. This is a text box that I rotated a certain amount of degrees. This letter form is a B and then 2 other text boxes put with it. So hopefully this gives you some ideas, but what I'm really looking for is I'm going to come in here with the text tool and I am going to click in and see, did you do some things in here? Do you have some tracking or kerning? Do you have differences with your vertical or horizontal scale? On letter forms that look awkward, I did some kerning in both of these words up here. I did some kerning in my name in a couple of spots here. There was just an awkward gap. I didn't do any kerning to this. I spaced it out and it's pretty funky. Again, I'm not in love with any of these, but I wanted to show you a quick version of what I'm looking for. So this is my file in Illustrator. So you're not just going to send me the AI file. I want it packaged with all the fonts, and I want you to include a PDF. So let's start with the packaging. We're going to choose File. Okay, I get the spinning ball. I'm getting a little worried here. We're going to choose File, Package, and it says it must be saved. Okay, fine. No. Oh boy. How many people have this open? Oh, you can, if you get things like this, you know how to work around it. Since I did something different. Save. Okay, now you saw a window that you shouldn't have seen already. Let's do a save as. This should be an Illustrator file. Okay, so we have typographic logos AI. This is my Illustrator file. If I were to just upload this, none of these fonts would come along and it would be a hot mess. So I need to do a file, package, and where do I want it to go? I'm putting it on my desktop, and this is the name of the folder. I want all the links, which there aren't any, and I want all the fonts except for Adobe fonts because I can get those on my own, or the end user can, and create report. So say package. This kind of warns you that you're just sending these fonts along for a one-time use, and you say, okay. It's been done successfully. Let's look at it. So in the show package, this dialog here, I have my Illustrator file, the text report, and the fonts. And these are the fonts that I use that were not part of Adobe that the end user would need to see. So that's all in a folder on my desktop right now. Then I want you to come back to Illustrator and I want you to make that PDF. So File, Save As, and I want to create a PDF of this. And where I want it to go is in that same folder I just made, which was on my desktop. It was called Typographic Logos 2. Stretch this out. That's the name of the folder I just made. I want to put a PDF in there as well, so I'll say Save. Illustrator default is fine. Save the PDF. Now when I go into Finder and I take a look on the desktop, I should have a folder called Typographic Logos 2, and the PDF is now in there too. So if anything goes wrong, at least I can look at this and see what it was supposed to look like. But I do want to go into your Illustrator file and be able to click and check on kerning and leading and sizing and everything else. So this is the folder that I should be getting. And again, as a reminder, you need to zip it before you upload it to Blackboard. So on a PC, you're going to right click and say send to compressed or zip file. On a Mac, you're going to right click and say compress folder. And that, if I can get rid of all these messes that I have here, so much stuff going on. Here it is, Typographic Logos 2 folder zip. That's what I would upload to Blackboard. So hopefully this was a reasonably quick reminder of what we need for that project, or not even a reminder. This is a new project. Then I want you to note that your final exam, it's a 20-point question quiz in Blackboard. It's not big. It's only on chapters 2 and 7. It is open now through midnight, Monday, April 13th. Obviously, you can use notes, your book, PowerPoints, whatever. Once you start this test, you're going to have 2.5 hours to complete it, which is way, 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 way more than enough time, I promise. But you cannot pause and come back. Once you start, the timer starts. So please set aside time to take this test when you'll be uninterrupted and you have your book and everything ready. It will automatically submit after 2.5 hours if you're not complete. So anytime between now and midnight, Monday, April 13th, you can click, this will be active, and it's a 20-question multiple choice type exam. So only on chapter 2 and 7, the things that we could kind of test on, anatomy and principles. So that is what you will find in Learning Plan 10. And then if I back out to Learning Plan 11, that is our final day. That is when, just a reminder to take the exam in Learning Plan 10, reminder to upload that typographic logo by midnight, April 13th, and then your final font project is also due here at the end of class, so midnight, April 13th. Remember, you're uploading an Illustrator file with 26 artboards for the capital letters A through Z, and you're including an artist statement. So here's the Dropbox for that. So that is how we are finishing typography. We will be done as of midnight on April 13th or 12:01 on the 14th. These two will be active when you actually see this video. And as a reminder, here is the link to the virtual classroom. So if you want to pop in Wednesday at 11 o'clock, if you have any questions, you want to see your classmates, if you want to share what you're working on, I will be here. So if you have any questions, please let me know at any time via email, and I hope everything's going well for you guys. Bye-bye.